Black women are the white people of black people. But before I get into that, I want to show y'all this short clip first.
Why do you think women entrepreneurs are like we're winning? Like there's so many of us.
Ooh, you're not gonna like me.
Ooh. Please give it to us plain.
I personally think it's systematically done. One thing that they did during slavery is that they made sure to emasculate the man and then make the woman powerful. We're going to make sure our babies live.
By any means
By
necessary.
any means necessary.
That's really the real reason why we're doing so well.
Yes.
They're promoting it.
They're promoting it.
And I think because we're I guess the word is more palatable.
Right.
You know, black men they're more their competition.
They are, and they are not afraid to speak their minds.
Yeah.
Because
Or
let me
fight.
tell you, so all of the grants, all of this stuff for black women this, black women that. But what about the men? Because being a strong black woman is exhausting.
Black women are the white people of black people. And I've come to this because when I was looking at a bunch of different reasons as to why it is black men and black women just don't get along, like what is it between us that we just can't come together for something? And I started listening to the likes of everybody from like Dr. Umar, Tariq Nasheed, the Black Authority on his business channel, even Professor Black Truth a little bit. I've listened to like Fresh and Fit, the Daily Wrap Up crew, other small YouTube channels and whatnot from both sides of the spectrum. And it's like I was always like, what is it about us that we just can't come together? And I've looked through all of these things and compiled them down. And I was like, let me try to approach this, or let me try to compare this to a bunch of different other things so I can see where that correlation really is. Let me see where the correlation lies. And then I came to seeing it become similar and synonymous with how white people treat black people. And then I started to compare them, the actions of like white people, and compare the actions of black women against black men and children. And then I started to realize that there's like there's some similarities because they use some similar tactics. And I've come down with three main tactics that they use in tandem with each other. And I'm gonna go through them right now. So first, they both blame the victim, and they also never take accountability, and they minimize whatever wrongdoings they have done against their opponent. And so when we look at like with white people, they'll always downplay, racism, like, oh, there's no racism anymore. They'll downplay slavery, like, oh, you guys don't need reparations. Slavery is so long ago, it's already been done. Who cares anymore? It's your own fault if you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And black women apply that same logic when it comes to black men, because they'll be like, oh, I wouldn't have to put my hands on you if you was more of a real man. I wouldn't have to go cheat on you if you was more of a real man and stood up. Like, I wouldn't have, it was, I had a kid by somebody else while I was with you, but it was because you weren't living up to this expectation I had of you in my head, and blah, 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 over and over and over again. They always downplay and minimize whatever it is that they do to another group of people. And they also push it on the victim somehow. Like, they'll be like, oh, well, like white people will be like, oh, well, you guys are this, you guys act this way, you guys are always like this, it's these stereotypes, so it's okay for us to, so it's not that bad that you got what you got, because honestly you got what was coming to you. And then the same thing with black women, they'll be like, oh, well, like, you black men aren't this, you black men aren't that, so you kind of get what you got coming to you. And even black women with black children, how they will raise black children, abuse them and torment them, and then they'll blame them and they get mad at them when they don't want anything to do with them once they're grown. I've seen this happen with like black boys and black girls who don't want anything to do with their black mother, because their black mother would often abuse them, take things out on them, and not take accountability for what she did to them. And then that leads into the next tactic that they both use, which is they both fear monger about their opponents. And they do this so that they can build up their numbers and build up supporters in the ideology that they believe in, which is attacking their opponents, attacking the opposite team. So for black women, it's for attacking black men and sometimes black children. And for white people, it's attacking black people as a group. So what they'll do, so like what white people will do was that they will be like, oh, well, black criminality, low black IQ, you guys have no culture, you have no this, you have no that. All these other immigrants are able to come here and do better than you in your own country. It is like, why can't you do better? Why can't you do anything? And then for black women, it'll be like, they'll be like, oh, well, black men are unaliving black women at an alarming rate, so you should always be cautious of them. They're so criminal. They're so derivative. They're so degradatory. They're so this. They're so degrading. They're so this. They're so that. And sometimes with the black women, even to their children, it's like, oh, these children are just, they're so disrespectful. They're so annoying. They're so this. They're so that. Like, ooh, don't have no kids. Don't be having no kids. Like, they will fearmonger about their opposite group or that their competitors so that they can get more people to be on their side, because they know that there's power in numbers. And even though they I think black women may outnumber black men and white people outnumber black people in this country, even though they outnumber us, they still want to find a way to make sure that the ideology that they have outnumbers the amount of people that are on their opposing team. So they want to make sure that there's enough people on their side that actually believes that, they need to keep their foot on the neck of their opponents. So they'll fearmonger and they'll push off an image on them to make sure that they can never be seen as a victim. So that's why they always fearmonger, to always show their opponents as a victimizer and never a victim. And this leads to this last final point, which is that they weaponize victimhood. Now, I know a lot of people like to say like, oh, you should never see yourself as a victim. You should always pick yourself up by your bootstraps and this and that. Some people would even say, like, even though we know white supremacy exists and we know it's out there and that they do whatever they can to subjugate us and keep us down, that we should still not see ourselves as a victim. But the thing is that we are. We're in a system of white supremacy. We are victims. Now, it does not mean that you are a victim on an individual level to the point where like someone is keeping their literal foot on your neck, stopping you from doing anything. No, there's nobody doing that. However, as a group, as a system, we are a victim, and we are continuing to be victimized because we have this system of white supremacy that victimizes people, especially for us as black Americans, or black people in general. So we live in a system where they are constantly victimizing us. Slavery victimized us. Jim Crow victimized us. The war on drugs victimized us. The welfare system victimized us. School to prison pipeline victimized us. Even like the control of wealth during COVID victimized us. Everything and every type of system that they could come up with to victimize us, they do, and it constantly victimizes us. It does not, like I said before, it does not mean that you can't take control or whatever over your own life, over your own self, over your own body. No, I'm not saying that. But as a victim and as a group of people, we are victims of this system. As a group, we are. That's why, that's why people are fighting for reparations. But they do this so that they can always make sure, but they weaponize their victimhood, because it's like, let's say you're a little sibling and you have a big sibling who goes to the same school as you, and you tell them that there's this kid who keeps bullying you at school. That big sibling will then go to that bully that you said that you have. They'll go over there, they'll fix that problem, and then everything is all good now. But what if it's that they're not bullying you? It's just that you don't like them because they act a different way, or you don't like what they do, and then now they want to start taking it out on, and now they want to take it out on you. That same person will go back to that big sibling and say, hey, big sibling, this person is doing this or that to me, and I want you to handle that. And then the big sibling will go over there and handle that. And even the bully, even the perceived bully will be like, I'm not even doing this to them. I don't know what they're talking about. The big sibling won't care, because the little sibling's going to put on the waterworks and then get that big sibling to do what that little sibling wants. And that is to use that big sibling like a weapon. And that is why they always try to, like, white people always try to make sure that black people are never seen as a victim. That is why black women always try to make sure that black men and sometimes even black children never seem like they're the victims. Black women always have to be the victim. That's why they always get with the men that victimizes them. That's why white people are always poking at black people so that they can get them to victimize them. They weaponize and they use victimhood because the government is nothing but a big brother. It's a big sibling. That's all the government is a big brother. So they want to make sure that they can use that big brother as the weapon that it is so that they can always get their way. And then when they don't get their way, you see how they spaz out like little bratty kids. From the black women to the white people, they will always spaz out and act like little kids. Because they're that little sibling mad that their big sibling or their big brother government is not giving them what they want. And now I want to thank y'all for listening so far. However, there is a bonus point that I'm about to get to right now that I've also kind of noticed. I'm like, it's more so about the victim thing. That's why I kind of kept these 3 points. But this one is a little bit on the outside of that. So this point is what I call they both use the tactic of masters of disguise, which means they want to be perceived as they want to be perceived as not as dangerous as they really are. And the way that you can tell this is that you always have to use disclaimers whenever you're talking down on black women or whenever you're talking down on white people for being racist. You always have to use like, some but not all, like Zoe Williams would say, some but all. Like you always have to use that some but not all whenever you're talking down on black, or you're talking about the dangers that black women pose and the dangers that white people as racists pose. Like you always have to use a disclaimer whenever you're talking about them, especially in in public, in a controlled, dominant media. You always have to use these disclaimers whenever you're talking about these groups of people. And the reason why, like I just said, is so that you can never really point out how many wolves in sheep's clothing there actually are. They don't want you to know that they're really as dangerous as they are. I believe Malcolm X, he was in an interview where he was talking about if they were teaching hate at the Nation of Islam. He was saying like, no, it's just that if, let's say that there's a snake in the path and my people keep going down this path getting bit by this snake. And they're wondering like, what's happening to me? What's going on? Why do I keep getting bit? Why do I keep hurting? Why am I going through so much pain and turmoil? And he said, what he does is that he will point out to his people that, hey, that's a snake right there. There's a snake on that path. So be careful when you're going down that path. You may need to take another one, or maybe you need to carry something on you to deal with that snake. And he said, to that snake, I will be perceived as preaching hate. But it's not it's not like you're preaching hate or you're teaching hate. What you're doing is that you're giving the truth. And the truth is kryptonite to a wolf in sheep's clothing, because they are trying to disguise themselves so that they can be able to continue to carry out the type of inhumane activities that they always do. They want to keep the pecking order. They want to keep the hierarchy. And in order to keep the hierarchy, they have to constantly disguise themselves as victims so that they can constantly get their way. You can't see them for the threat that they possess if they're constantly disguising themselves as a victim. You can't see it. And they don't want you to see it. With white supremacy, they don't want you to call it out. They just want it to exist in an invisible force. They want it to be that elephant in the room that nobody's addressing. You may know it's there, but don't address it. Don't talk to it. Don't point it out. There's a whole elephant right here, but don't you point it out. Don't you talk about it. Don't you say nothing. And if you say something about it, you better put a disclaimer on it. And that is why I see that whenever we talk about black women or white people being racist, you always have to throw out a disclaimer. You always have to do that some but not all. You always have to do this, and that's because they are the masters of disguise. They want to be cloaked. They want you to not be on your guard when you're around them. So it constantly makes it easier for them to attack and pounce on you whenever they feel like it. And when you start pointing them out, they'll get on you and they'll say, you better not say nothing to nobody. You better not tell your friends you're nothing, that you know that there's some wolves out here in these herds of sheep. So if you constantly if you're going to leave, we're going to let you live. You better not say nothing. I already got your scent. So if you go out there and say something, I'm going to come and I'm going to attack you. aka I'm gonna attack your livelihood. I'm gonna attack your ability to be able to provide for yourself, which in this day and age is almost as heinous as the death penalty. Because if you stop someone's ability to take care of themselves, you are essentially killing them off. So it's like, I'm going to come back for you. I'm going to cancel you, aka kill you, if you say anything about it. And it's funny because I came across this video, I came across this clip from this channel called Zoom to Thailand. And this dude was talking about like how why passport bros go over to Thailand or something. And the woman that he was debating with, she was telling black men to shut up when they go overseas and they start talking about like what's happening over there in America. She was like, hey, y'all just go over there and shut up. And it's like, what? It's like truth is kryptonite to these wolves in sheep's clothing because it removes their disguise. So they have to make sure that you don't constantly pull off that disguise. They have to make sure that you don't pull off that disguise, because once you do, they can't be able to attack anymore like they would love to do. Now, this is going to be for me personally. I'm not making this video because I hate black women. To the contrary, I love black women with all my heart. They're the most beautiful women on planet Earth. They are the end all be all of the apex of what a woman is to me. However, I am not going to sit here and pretend as if they have not contributed to the downtroddenness of our community. I'm not going to sit here and act like they did not play a part in destroying our culture. They did. We know black men played a part in it as well by selling drugs, beating and all the other types of violent and sexual crimes against, black women or whatnot. I know black women have told me about some things that black men have done to them that make me disgusted. I understand that we do things to defame our community and to hurt our community as well. We as black men know that, and we do what we can to give a helping hand to our community. But it's that when y'all choose to focus on the wrong type of black men, then that's when all of these things keep coming up to the forefront, which I don't believe is the major thing in the major case. But for black women, it seems to be the opposite because it's like maybe it's the same. It's just a vocal minority of black women who are just so off the rails that they just constantly, just doing whatever to help destroy the black community at the behest of white supremacy. But it still stands. Like, I love black women with all my heart. I do. But I want my women to do better just like they want us to do better. We got the message to start doing better, and we have been trying to do better. We have been doing better. However, for my black women, I've seen videos of black women standing up saying the right things, like, speaking truth to power, even though other black women hate them for it, like Simone Biles and stuff like that. Like, we've seen black women, come up and hold their own and tell the truth and shame the devil. But I don't know, maybe it's just like it's the same thing. We only see the enemy because that's what this algorithm, this YouTube algorithm, this social media algorithm wants us to see. Maybe it's not as bad as we really think it is. Maybe it isn't. But from what I know, from these points that I've been able to connect between black women and white supremacist people, or white people in general, who hold these beliefs, this is what I've come to. I've seen these connections. And now I want to put these connections out there so that we can start to connect these dots and help our sisters to realize what they are doing to help destroy the community. And maybe we can help to get them on our side again so that we can truly build this black community and build our black culture. Because that's what true black is all about. Being truly black to us, having our own black American culture so that we can have something to us. Because Marcus Garvey said that a people without their knowledge and history of self is like a tree without roots. I take it a different step. I say that a people without a culture is like a tree without roots. And if we don't have a culture that we gatekeep and safeguard for us specifically, we will constantly continue to sell our culture out, and then all of this stuff between us as black men, black women, black children, black elders, and all this other stuff, all of this stuff will constantly continue to happen. We need to create our own culture, but we can't do that without the help of our sisters alongside us to help build us up and build our community and build our culture up to the former glory that we used to have. Or maybe even take it into the future and take it a step further and do even better with our culture than it was before. But that's just me. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, if you ever really thought these points through, if you ever made these connections on your own, maybe I'm a little late to the party. Let me know if, like, you know, you guys have like seen these things, because I've been like one off here and there noticing, but it's been to a point now where I feel like I have to say something about it. So, like, again, that's me. I wanted to remind you guys to always stay true to your black. Stay true to your blackness. Stay true to your black heart, your black mind, your black consciousness, your black culture. And I'll catch y'all on the next video. Talk to y'all later.